Hello everybody, I am Terry and this is Terry's Model Rod Shop Tips, Tricks, and Techniques for Building Better Model Cars. I have been building model cars for 30 plus years, and along the way I've picked up tips and tricks and ways to do stuff, and I'm going to try to pass that along and help people so everybody can build quality models and enjoy the hobby. First thing we're going to do, we're going to go over tools, basic tools, and then a couple advanced tools. We're going to go over setting up your workbench, and then we're going to go over skill levels and models and what is best for your comfort zone and different. I'm going to show you some models that I built and some of the different terminology that I use so you're not completely lost as we're going through these videos. So the first thing I want to do is go to tools. The very first tool you need is an X-Acto knife. You can use that to cut parts off of trees, all kinds of stuff. And then you have tweezers and locking tweezers and masking tape. Just make sure it's a good quality masking tape, because cheap stuff will leave residue and it makes a mess. And then from there we're going to go over to sandpapers and stuff that I use. I use everything from 80 grit to 80 grit DA disc all the way up to 12,000 grit, which is part of my polishing kit, which we'll explain how that works as we move along. But just make sure that your sandpaper is automotive grade and that it's a high quality, because the way they grade sandpapers for the stuff you buy at the hardware store and the stuff you buy at the auto parts store is completely different. So you have to have automotive grade. And then there's fingernail files and different size files and stuff, and we'll get into that more as we progress through this video series. Then you need a piece of glass so that you're just big enough for your car to sit on, because glass is inherently flat. So you want all four wheels to sit on the ground, you need a piece of glass. That's the best way to guarantee all four wheels are sitting on the ground. So now let's move to glues. You got your Testors glues here. Now the blue one, I don't really know why they make that, but some people like it. And then this tube glue, I very rarely use that. That one's probably 20 years old. But I use a lot of super glue and accelerator and this Plastruct plastic weld, which is the best stuff I have found. I used to use a product called Tenix, but they quit making it for some reason. And then Aleene's Jewel Glue, I'll get into what I use that for. And then it goes along with glue, you got toothpicks and clamps and rubber bands and different stuff. Now, paintbrushes. Before we get to paint, we'll go to paintbrushes. You need a good quality natural hair paintbrush. Yes, they cost more, but if you take care of them and you clean them the way you should, they should last forever. Now, Testors makes these little plastic brushes with these little plastic bristles. They're alright, but you're not going to get a good quality paint job with these. And usually though, you only want to brush paint small details on stuff. So, and now on to paint. You got your little Testors bottles. Everybody knows what those are. You got Testors Acryl, which is acrylic paint. Then you got Tamiya acrylic. Then you got these Tamiya lacquer primers, which I use to brush paint little stuff when I'm doing roughing in body work, and I'll explain that as we progress. And then you got your brush cleaner, which I just use straight lacquer thinner. Then this is the primer that I use exclusively on everything. I put this down. This is like a house. You need a good foundation or your house ain't going to stand up. This is the best stuff I have found. Some people will argue the point, but I believe this is the best stuff that you can put underneath it, because I have top coated this with everything from automotive base clears to Testors to lacquers to Tamiyas, and I've never had a problem. And then this is some of the paints I use, spray paint body wise. This is base clear, Duplicolor, perfect match. You buy at the auto parts store. There's Tamiya, Krylon, Testors enamel, Testors lacquer, and that pretty much covers your basic stuff. Now for tools that you don't really have to have, but it makes your job a lot easier, you got tweezers. Well, these are decal tweezers, which we'll get into that later. This is a mold seam scraper, which I'll explain how this works as we progress through the videos. This is a Robart paint shaker. This is one of the nicest tools I think they ever came up with. You can get these with either battery operated or run off of AC. And they shake up the paint really, really well, and it makes it really, really nice when you're brush painting little things like exhaust pipes or headers or whatever. But we'll get into that as we progress. And then you got different polishes. These are Novus polishes and a little soft cloth, and then bare metal full. And I will explain how the bare metal full works as we progress. Now, since we've got tools out of the way, we're going to cover workbenches. I have this nice workbench here, which me and my little buddy here hang out and build models. And I got this piece of glass here that covers the piece of glass like I was showing you, except it's on my workbench, so when it gets dirty, I scrape it off. Now, you want a workbench that has plenty of lighting, and you can be able to set your model cars and leave them sit, because sometimes you have to let them sit and parts to dry and everything. So this is how I got my workbench set up. Hopefully you can find a place to set up a workbench in your shop or house or whatever that you can let your models sit overnight if you need to, and dogs and cats and kids won't get into them. So that pretty much covers all your basics. Now we're going to go in the other room and I'm going to go over different types of models, like the different skill levels to fit your ability or where you feel comfortable. And I'm going to show some different models that I've built and explain some of the terminology I'll be using as we progress through the video series. I hope you enjoy it. Okay guys, here we are. We're back and we're talking about picking the best model for your skill level or where you feel comfortable. And we're going to start with this level 1. This is a snap kit. They come molded in color, as you can see, and very, very few parts. And they're geared toward beginners and kids, but I like them for slump busters, and I'll explain that later. Now here's what they call skill level 2. This is a 67 Chevelle. You can build it 2 ways, but stock or custom. And as you can see, there's more parts, and they're molded in white generally. AMT is now starting to mold stuff in color, which, yeah. But we'll talk about all that later. Now, some of the and then there's pre-painted kits or pre-decorated kits, like this here Tony Stewart car. I like these because painting is the worst thing you can do with a model. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do to get right, and it takes a lot of practice. And these, I'm going to use this in the upcoming videos as we build. This is going to be the Project Pontiac, and we're going to build this, and I'm going to teach tips and tricks to help you build better cars, which you can use for any car, not just this one, or not just a race car. You can use it for any type of car. I'll teach you how to scuff tires, detail paint stuff, some painting on the chassis and whatnot. And this is a pre-decorated kit. Now this is a resin body. Now this, you have to buy another kit to go with it, but this is resin. And resin comes in all different types, forms, shapes, and sizes. And that pretty much covers. And then as you look at my pile of kits here, you got everything from exotics to bone stock, street rod, or bone stock cars, NASCARs, foreign cars, street rods, show cars.
Sorry about our dog.
Sorry about the dog. She's an idiot. Tractor, trailers, and everything else.
Okay, hang on.
Okay, now we're going to go over different types of kits and some of the stuff I've built and some of the terms you'll hear me use, like scratch built, slammer, curbside, etc. The red Corvette, that is a snap kit that my 12-year-old son built a few years ago. As you can see, not a lot of detail, but it does have potential. And this is a 34 that my daughter, she's 9 when she built this. And this also has a lot of potential. I actually have a few of these, and I use them for, like I said, like slump busters, or the Ford, I'm going to use it for paint practice because black paint jobs are the worst thing in the world. For some reason, they're hard. But anyway, this is a box stock kit. This is where you build it straight from the box. You use no extra decals, no nothing, and it's missing a window. But it's just paint detail and decals. I mean, that's it. Now this is what I call modified die cast. This was a die cast kit. This was not a die cast that was put together. I actually had to build this. And you can see it's got a motor and chassis. It's not the best kit in the world, but it's another one of the slump busters. The purple truck back there, this is what they call a curbside. That is you would build it as if you were to, has no motor, no suspension. You would build it as if you were walking down the road and you saw it sitting on this curb. The hood's not open. It's not like car show type deal, just interior and paint. Then this is what they call a slammer, which slammers, all they are paint, and that's it. You black out the windows, you custom paint it, which I got to give credit to BDI for the graphics. I did not do that. I did the 3-tone paint job. I had it pinstriped. But that's a slammer. Then this is what I call a kit bash. This is a model that has different parts from different kits. Like this particular kit has wheels and tires off of one kit, an engine parts out of another kit, suspension parts out of another kit. That's what's called a kit bash. Now, this is what I call scratch bash. It's not completely scratch built. It is partially scratch built and partially kit bashed. The frame and chassis on this is all scratch built, and then all the other parts are sourced from kits. I don't even know how many kits I have in this piece of machinery, but the body, it took two truck bodies, motor out of one thing, and them are terms you'll hear me using, and I will go over them a little bit as time progresses. And next week we're going to start on our Project Pontiac, and I'm going to teach you different basics right now, and then when that's done we will go into more detailed tips and tricks and whatnot. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.